Hello everyone, since it's October, it's spooky season and we'd figure to share some scary stories on the Let's Not Meet subreddit. So me, Joe, Donald, and Ariana will share our stories once the other is finished. I will go first. This was submitted by Alba_Michelle23. Last year I started law school in Los Angeles. Ever since I was little, I always knew I had a half-sister in LA, but my parents had this weird anger toward her that always made it feel like a taboo topic. Of course, I had looked her up on social media and I knew what she looked like, but that was about all. We had never actually met. She was never that active on social media, so there wasn't a lot I could see. Out of nowhere, one day in my first year of law school, I got a friend request on Facebook from my sister. Her profile seemed legitimate. She had Facebook friends and her profile picture looked like her. She sent me a message inviting me to a little dinner party at the park with her friends. We could finally meet each other for the first time. I was new to LA, still am, and I had no idea which parts of the city to avoid at night. I won't say the name of the park, but anyone who has lived in LA for long will tell you that it's not a safe place for girls to be having a dinner party at night. The area surrounding the park has very high violent crime rates. It's controlled by gangs. Even people who do illegal business in that park are forced to pay a tax to the gang in exchange for being left alone. So now I was really concerned and curious. I actually tried to get a hold of my sister myself. She was an undergrad at the time, a local college. I had a friend who went to her school. I asked my friend to reach out to her on campus and ask her if she'd be okay with meeting us. They connected and the three of us met at my friend's house. It was great. We got along so well. My friend was also very happy to do that for us. The three of us had so much fun. We weren't bursting in tears, but we let out a few. We had dinner, we watched a movie, and we spent the night at my friend's house. When I told my sister about that whole thing, she said she hadn't used Facebook since high school, so clearly someone was impersonating her. I would have told her to report the fake account, but it had already been deleted. She knew she had been impersonated on social media, though. Another one of her friends had been scammed by someone pretending to be her. It was some scheme involving fake concert tickets or something like that. Someone had been impersonating my sister. They knew I was in town, and they literally tried to lure me into one of the most dangerous parts of LA at night. I have no idea what their motives were. I don't know if I even want to find out. Meeting my sister after all these years was a beautiful thing, but the whole backdrop was terrifying.
Hey guys, Spooky Joe here as I get to share my spooky story. This story is by Rich Gatesy. This happened a few hours ago and I'm not scared anymore, just angry my pizza got stolen. In my town, there's a story that a guy has moved into the deep woods close to our town. I never believed it as I go for night drives occasionally and never saw him or anything resembling a man that lives in the woods. Anyway, tonight I decided to go for a drive and drove past a pizza place. Being hungry, I decided to get a pizza before I went home. In my head, I had a plan to eat pizza and play some Minecraft as I'm in my 2-week Minecraft phase at the moment. I paid for my pizza and started walking to my car with the pizza in one hand and my phone in the other, messaging my friend if he wants to play some Minecraft when I get home. I look up from my phone to cross the road to the car park and I see something under my car. It looks like a shadow or something dark. I put my phone in my pocket and pull out my keys. I unlock the car to scare off anything close to the car. I was thinking it may be a car or a dog just hanging around my car, but when I unlock the car, nothing happens. No cat running away and nobody running away. The shadow looked like it was cast from the driver's side, so I was going to have to look at what it was, whether I wanted to or not to get in. I put my keys away and pull out my phone again and turn the flashlight on to see better in the dark. As I turn towards the driver's side of my car, I see him. A dirty, naked guy with big eyes staring right at me. He was crouched down trying to hide from me. Now, I don't usually get scared of anything, but this guy scared me. He looked like he rolled around in mud and it dried out on his skin. His eyes looked creepy, bloodshot and kind of bulging out of his head, and he was naked. I get startled and jump backwards out of instinct, dropping my pizza in the process. It falls out of its box and onto the floor. I start moving back slowly and shout at him to get away from my car. He looks up at me, then at the pizza, then back at me again. He tilts his head to one side and then jumps towards the pizza like a dog, grabs it and starts running away down the road, and I assume he ran all the way to the woods. I wouldn't know where he went as I didn't feel like following him. I lock my car and run back to the pizza place and stay there for a bit. The workers obviously don't believe me when I tell them what happened, but I know what I saw. Once the fear subsides after a while, I realize that this guy just stole my pizza. Angry as I was looking forward to it, I decide to get another one and run to my car this time. I get in, put the pizza on the passenger seat, and go home. Once I got home, I locked all my doors and windows. I even locked my bedroom door, as I feel a little scared still. I think I'll be playing Minecraft until the sun comes up. Creepy, dirty, naked guy that lives in the woods, close to my town. I never want to see you again, because I may have to fight you for stealing my pizza.
My turn to tell a scary story. This one's gonna be the scariest out of all the 5. This one was by Wham! Thank You Ham. 10 years ago, my ex and I were at the drive-ins on a Tuesday night. I only had Wednesdays off at the time, and it was perfect because Tuesday was $5 movie night. We watched Gone Girl, and the movie ended close to midnight, so it was late as we were leaving. I was the one driving, so we left the theaters, and I hopped on the freeway to get home. As I got on the freeway, I was in the right lane and stuck behind a semi, so I put on my blinker to pass them on the left. It was late, and I didn't see a car in sight besides the semi, so I got over to pass them. Not even a minute later, a white truck was behind me, flashing his brights and getting really close to my rear bumper, so my first thought is, crap, did I accidentally cut them off? Didn't seem likely as I checked my mirrors and didn't see anyone behind me on the freeway at all. I got up past the semi and moved over to the right again, thinking, well, if I'd been a dick and cut this dude off, he can flip me off and be on his way. But no. As soon as there was enough of a gap, he filled the tiny space between me and the semi and was on my bumper again. My ex had fallen asleep, and I didn't want to wake him yet, as this could be just some guy pissed off, and maybe I made a mistake and didn't see him. Granted, there were 3 whole empty lanes to the left of us. He could have passed me miles ago. He's still flashing his brights and tailing me, so I get over hoping he'll just have established his dominance and moved on. He follows me in every lane I change to. I stop using my blinker when changing lanes, and he still just swerves to be right behind me. At this point, I'm scared he's gonna hit my bumper, and I pump it up to 90, and he follows suit. I'm shaking and finally nudge my ex with my elbow and say, "Babe, I think we're being followed." He wakes up and looks behind us, and I change lanes, and he sees what I mean. My exit to get home isn't for another few miles, and I'm trying to get my ex to call the police, because I know at this point, this guy isn't letting up. He doesn't call, he's just watching. I finally get a hold of my nerves and realize there's an exit to another freeway coming up. I'm in the lane second from right, and as soon as I see the exit, I swerve as fast as I can to get on the freeway exit, barely missing the concrete pillar to the bridge above it. I only look over to the truck for a second, but I can see him looking straight at us. I'm sobbing at this point, and my ex just looks at me, and I know he saw him looking at us too. I pull off the first exit and find the first well-lit gas station I can, because I am in no shape to drive anymore. My ex lets me sob for a bit, and we switch so he can finish the drive home. Once we get home, and I'm a little calmer, we start talking about it, and I explain what happened while he was asleep. And we get to the point where we're talking about pulling off and him looking at us and how fucking freaky that was. He kind of looks at me confused and then is just quiet, and he goes, "Babe," he had a gun pointed at us. I have no fucking idea what this guy had in mind for us that night. The drive-ins were uneventful, and we hadn't pissed anyone off or even talked to anyone, so I don't think he followed us from there. Whoever you are, giant white truck guy, let's not ever meet.
Well, this one should be scary. Anyway, let's get sharing. This happened like 6 to 7 years ago now. Feel free to ask any questions. Your questions might help me jog my memory, and I'll remember more details. I played soccer for 1 year in community college after high school. I knew this guy because he worked for the athletics department. He was another student. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I had a 1-hour gap between classes. This guy noticed me in the library, asked what I was doing there. I told him I had an hour-long gap, and he started coming regularly to hang out. I didn't mind because he seemed like a normal guy. He wasn't waiting for anything, but he just wanted to hang out. He brought me little gifts a few times, like chocolate and stuff. He was being a little too sweet for someone I barely knew. I didn't think about red flags. With the gifts, I remember he always downplayed it. He'd be like, "They had extra Kit Kat bars today in the office. Do you want some?" He never said that he purposely bought Kit Kat for me. I know a lot more about boys now than I knew back then. I think he knew that buying me gifts would be too much, but he still wanted to do it without doing it. The soccer season for us ended before Thanksgiving. The only teams that kept playing after that were going to the playoffs, not us. After Thanksgiving, we had finals. In that brief period after the soccer season and before Thanksgiving, he asked me about my classes for second semester. TBH, I hadn't been super organized with course registration, and I honestly didn't know. Also, the counselors were completely clueless. I didn't tell him that, but I remember saying I didn't want to have another gap hour like this because it wasted so much time. I don't think he was happy to hear that. He also asked if I would play another season, and I said no to that. I needed to manage my time better, and playing soccer every day was not helping. I think my mistake was that I just said too much and unfiltered. I used to do that a lot back then, saying too much without thinking about how it can affect other people's feelings. That was on the last Thursday before Thanksgiving, so no more hour gaps to hang out anymore. We had Thanksgiving break, we took finals, and we had winter break. Everything was great. Winter break was when the real problems started. In the mornings, this guy literally showed up outside my house while sitting in his car. The first time I didn't believe it was actually him. The second time I checked and it was. By then, it was really clear that we both knew what was going on. He was stalking me. And that wasn't all. I posted on my Instagram stories sometimes about places I was. This guy literally showed up there several times, like girly stores at the mall, where he had zero business being. He did lots of things like that. He also started pointing his phone at me like he was taking pictures. That was even weirder. I basically stopped using social media over this. After winter break, this continued. When my parents were at work, this guy came during the afternoon too. I called the cops a few times. They went and tried to talk to him. He basically told them he wasn't going to talk, and that was it. I think the cops wanted to help, but they could never do anything about it because he was careful not to break the law. Like, he didn't trespass, he didn't make threats, he didn't show weapons, etc. I have no idea what he's doing now. My guess is that he gave up. Maybe his little obsession kind of became old and he found other things to pay more attention to. At least I hope so. But if he still comes by, I have no idea. I think the most challenging thing is that I couldn't tell my parents since I knew they would completely freak out.